Hey, Hokie Nation. This is the Hokie Nation podcast. We're excited to join you. This is my co-host, Isaac Childress.
What's up, guys? Little mission statement on what we're here to do is we're here to give the Hokie Nation a voice. We want to talk to the players, former alumni and current players. We want to talk to coaches, and also we want to talk to the fans. We want to hear your questions, and we want to answer your questions the way that you want them to be answered. Ultimately, what this is about is having a fan base that holds a program accountable. We expect a lot from Virginia Tech, and we want to hold them to a lot at Virginia Tech.
So a little background on us. We grew up in Southwest Virginia. We've been lifelong Hokie fans. We play football together. And we just wanted to share our opinions and let you guys have a voice. So first off, we're just going to share our favorite Hokie memory that we've had.
Got so many. What's your favorite one, mate?
Man, I think my first ever Virginia Tech football game, I'd say I was about 9 or 10, and my uncles brought me to the game, and I was so excited. I went to, I think it was Hibbett Sports, and I got a number 5 jersey. That was Tyrod Taylor. He was the quarterback at the time.
Legend.
And we walk up to Lane Stadium. And, man, it was like nothing I've ever seen before, man.
Yeah. I'll never forget the first time. Man.
We get in, we sit down, we get there early for warm-ups.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we were sitting maybe on the 30-yard line. And, the players are warming up. And I see number 5, Tyrod. He's warming up.
Yeah.
And, I'm all excited. I'm a little kid. And I'm like, Tyrod, look at me. And he gives me just maybe one of these. He was real cool.
Oh, yeah.
And
you gotta keep
and later on that game, they were playing with Georgia Tech.
Oh,
it was a Thursday night game, and it was when David Wilson took that kick return back to win the game against Georgia Tech.
I remember watching that game. Dad was there. He wouldn't let me go. It was Thursday night, but man, I'd have been jealous to go.
Absolutely.
To that game,
yeah, that was probably my favorite Hokie memory. What about you?
Man, honestly, obviously, my first game, it was pretty great, but it was Sean Glennon was starting, and we were in the nosebleeds. But I'd say my favorite Virginia Tech game of all time was the Logan Thomas Miami game. It was just such a tight game, and then you get down there, and Logan Thomas fakes that handoff, and all of a sudden, you look and you see David Wilson fall, and then you catch Logan out of your left eye, and you see him, and he jumps and does this little flip. Man, I've never heard Virginia Tech State. Lane got so loud.
Oh, yeah.
It's always good to beat the U.
Let's go, yeah.
Beat them this year. You can't
Should have beat them
change
this
my
year.
mind, man. So
Awesome.
It was awesome, and we left that game, and I was young, and everybody was going crazy. You could hear "Let's Go Hokie" chants for miles outside the stadium, man. I'll never forget that night, and hopefully we get some more memories like that coming soon.
That's right.
It's been a while since we had one of those key victories at Lane.
That's right.
But we coming. We're coming back.
Let's go.
That's what this place is for, man. That's what this place is for.
Next thing we're going to talk about, let's talk about our current offensive and defensive players.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to go first?
I can go first, man. First off, I'm going to start with offense. I got two co-guys, and I'll give you reasons for both. But it's Kyron Drones and PJ Prelude.
Oh, yeah.
Kyron Drones is a guy who, obviously, he's a quarterback. He's electric. But I feel like his loyalty to this program is spoken volume, man, and his character. And, I've heard that he's a silent guy, but, his leadership obviously is there because to stay loyal, especially at the end of this season, you heard so much chatter about Kyron and put Pop in.
Yeah.
And we didn't even know he was dealing with the injuries.
Right.
And then PJ, he's just a walk-on guy who came in as a safety and put his nose down. And unfortunately, he got hurt this year. But, man, you watch that spring game, and I'm excited to see what PJ can do this year, bro.
Me too.
Defensive, I got to go with Hog. Yeah, I'll give my boys KG, Kevin Gilliam, some
Let's
love.
go, yeah.
He's a native guy. who went to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Their scheme, he didn't really fit it, and comes home to Virginia, and man, plays great. I mean, you could notice he was on the field, and when you have guys like Aeneas Peoples and APR, who two All-Americans, and you can still be standing out, man, that speaks volume. To get him back, I think he's going to be a huge leader on this Virginia Tech defensive line, who is young and needs a guy to step up, because the guy in the past who's really done that is Fuga, and he's gone.
Definitely.
So I'm excited to see what Gilliam can do. You got some Emmett Laws, and I think a good guy like him can really be good in recruiting guys in Virginia, and I think he's going to be a good leader. So those are my two favorite guys. What about you, Big Dog?
Yeah, I like your favorite too. I definitely think it speaks to leadership. With Drones, especially playing through injuries. I'd say on the offensive side of the ball, I got to go with my guy Benji, tight end, number 82.
Love Benji.
I like watching him play. I think having a dominant tight end really sets your game apart, especially with check downs for the quarterback.
Sure does.
You present yourself as a big target for those easy check down plays. And I think he's an NFL caliber type guy.
He is.
His size, his speed, his catching ability. I mean, I've really enjoyed watching him play.
And anytime you put that guy behind the mic, I love hearing him talk, man. He's a bigger Hokie fan than we are, man.
Hey, this is my guy right here.
Yeah.
But I'd say defensive side of the ball. I'm going with Caleb Woodson.
Oh, yeah.
I really like the way he plays. He's physical. He's fast. He gets to the football.
Yes.
And I think you could put him anywhere on the field, man.
Swiss Army knife.
Absolutely.
Kind of guy.
And that's what we need on this lunch bell defense. Somebody that we can plug and play, plays with heart, and is physical, and, obviously has speed.
Oh, yeah. And we met Papa Woodson at the Mayo Bowl game.
That's right.
I mean, it's unfortunate we couldn't get his brother in there.
Yeah.
But, man, those are two great guys, too. Two guys that they're going to mean a lot to this program this year. In a program where we didn't return as many guys as, for say like we did last year. But you can't keep that up with the program. But them two guys are leaders as well, and excited to watch them play.
Absolutely. Next, let's just go with some former players. Offensive and defensive if you want to. Let's go former Hokie legends. You go ahead.
Man. So I guess out of the guys that I've watched play, the former guys, I'm going to go with Kyle Fuller on the defensive side of the ball, man. That guy was just a ball hawk. And Kyle, I felt like Kyle he was always a good player, but I felt like when Kendall was getting recruited, it felt like he was always overshadowed by one of his brothers, whether it be his other brother Vincent, who was a wide receiver, played for the Lions. Obviously, he was a great player. Or his younger brother, Kendall. And I felt like Kyle, man, this guy, great tackler. He was always getting an interception or making a big-time play. And I remember he blocked several field goals and, really, really meant, you look at this Virginia Tech team and you look at the teams now, and you're not seeing your starters. I mean, Kyle Fuller was a first-round defensive back, and he was making plays on special teams, blocking field goals. I mean, this guy was everywhere, and anytime he was on the field, you expected something big. And that's why I loved him. And then he went on and had a great career at Chicago, All-Pro, just a great Hokie. I love all them Fuller brothers. And honestly, my offensive guy, it's not somebody most people would think of, but Sam Rogers. I just felt like, I know Lunch Pell is on the defense, but this guy, just something about him just signified that blue-collar Lunch Pell style of play. The Hokies, that's what our brand is, man. Southwest Virginia, you got a lot of tough, hard
nose.
And Sam Rogers, he was a walk-on. And unfortunately, with the new NCAA rules, man, you're not going to see many of them. But he was a walk-on, and he comes on. And I tell you, it seemed like every time a big play needed to be made, he was doing it. In the big Ohio State win, he had a touchdown. He threw a touchdown and ran a touchdown. And the dude, I mean, he was just we talk about Caleb Woodson being a Swiss Army knife. My gosh, Sam Rogers. That man was a Swiss Army knife like no other.
He was.
And I remember he brought us home the Commonwealth. Me and Dad, we had tickets. We was in that end zone right beside the student section, and we was about 10 rows up on a 10-yard line. And I remember going for the Commonwealth Cup. Sam Rogers, man, he just goes and he's got 3 guys on him, and you think he's down. I'm like, oh, and I'm videoing it. And then you see he keeping them daggone big old tree trunk legs churning and gets in the end zone. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that man, there was just something about the way that man played.
Absolutely.
I mean, like Steve Austin said in The Longest Yard, that's how a white man runs a football. You know, I mean, that's what Sam Rogers was. He embodied that. You know, he wasn't nothing athletically special. No. He wasn't a huge guy.
That's right.
But by gosh, you try and tackle that for 4 quarters,
you're going to have a tough time.
You're going to have a tough time, man. And Definitely. He would block, do it all. So those are probably the 2 of my favorite guys that I watch. What about you?
So offensively, a former Hokie legend, I have to go with my guy Tyrod.
Oh, you can't.
Tyrod Taylor. I mean, just the way, because Michael Vick was before my time. Like I said, my first ever Hokie game, you know, Tyrod Taylor was a quarterback. Mm-hmm. And I just think he just brought electricity to the football field.
Yeah.
Something we haven't ever seen before. I think we got a guy right now that could potentially be his caliber in KD.
I think so.
But, you know, Tyrod, all-time legend in my book. He could run, he could throw. My favorite memory was the Orange Bowl against Stanford, I believe.
Yeah.
When he evaded a sack, he was going to the sideline, and he almost did a 360, and he fired it in there.
Gosh.
And I'll never forget that.
That dude was so good, man.
He was.
Still, his aura. I remember the spring game. I watched him walk out onto the field. I mean, still, I don't know how to describe it. Only people that I've ever seen have is Michael Vick and Tyrod Taylor. There's that man, just chill bumps every time you see him. I mean, he's awesome.
I think he just had the confidence, the swag, you know, from the 757. And a lot of legends coming from that area.
Yes.
And I still like watching him, what he's doing. I don't think he got a fair shake in the NFL. No. You know, we watched him a couple games back with the Jets, coming in for Aaron Rodgers and showing everybody what he can do.
Yeah. I mean, once he's been in the league now for 13, 14 years, I mean, the guy, even if he's not playing, I mean, to stay in the league as a quarterback for that long, obviously shows his caliber of talent. And I think that, you know, he was always just a great player. And I think that he is a lot of guys our age, he's what really built the fanship. He carried over what Michael Vick built.
That's right.
And, you know, that meant so much. And we're hoping a guy like KD or Pop Watson or,
Absolutely.
You know, maybe Keldon Ryan. You know, maybe we're hoping that those guys can extend that.
Definitely.
You know, the mobile guy. But Tyrod Taylor, best pick. I think.
I agree. And on my defensive side of the ball, a few years back, Tremaine Edmonds. I loved watching that man play.
Yes.
He was everywhere in the football field. He's long, fast. He made every tackle. And just really what a middle linebacker, you know, should be.
Yeah.
You know, he was, I want to say maybe 6'5", 250. Yeah. Don't quote me on that, but you know, and he's the highest paid middle linebacker right now.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's a big time difference maker. I mean, at one point when you had the Virginia Tech announcer, he pretty much should have just had that on repeat. Tremaine Edmonds for the tackle.
That's right.
I mean, you know, the guy was all over the field.
Every play, and along with his brother Terrell. I mean, you know, you have the second level, and then you get to the third level, and those guys are flying around the field, and now they have a storied career in the NFL.
And I got a good story with Terrell. I remember one time I was up, you know, I love Hokies because they've got some of the best stadium food around, man, between the turkey legs and everything. And I was going up and I was getting me some popcorn and a pretzel, and I'd already had a lane leg at that point. I go up there and it's sometime in the first quarter. and I look to my left, and there's Terrell Edmonds.
Oh, wow.
Should be on the field in an arm sling.
Wow.
And he's up there getting some popcorn too. And I'm like, Terrell Edmonds? He's like, yeah. I'm like, bro, can I get a selfie? I mean, this was like an out of I was like, what is...
That's awesome.
I met a lot of the players, in the Hokie walkthrough and, spring games and stuff. But that is the only current player, a guy who was on the roster at the same time that I've ever met in the concession stands.
That's
it was like it was a high school ball game. You don't expect to see, Kyron Drones up there getting a Coke at halftime. Right. It was crazy, man. That was an awesome story for Terrell.
That's super cool. And that's what I like about Lane Stadium, man. It does feel like almost like a high school environment. That's why, not too overwhelming, and it feels like everybody's family.
Yeah.
If you're rooting for the maroon and orange, you're one big family. And that's what I really love about Lane Stadium.
Yeah. I mean, we went to the Kentucky football game this year for my bachelor's trip, and man, I don't know. It's a nice stadium, and I know a lot of Hokies fans complain about not having the LEDs, but there is just something about Saturdays and Thursday nights at Lane that, man, it just feels like it's an electric atmosphere.
Definitely.
It's a homegrown. You feel like everybody's family there. You got the "Let's Go Hokies" chant, and I understand like a lot of people say, "Oh, this place is." Virginia Tech, I've been to a lot of college stadiums. Virginia Tech, truly, they've got something special there in Blacksburg, and that's why we want to do this.
That's right.
Again, because we got something so special, and we feel like these fans are electric. It don't matter if we're 3-8, it don't matter if we're 12-0. I mean, every game at Lane is going to be sold out, and it's going to be awesome.
That's right.
I mean, we're making kids have the greatest experience, and
right.
I love seeing little kids doing that,
Me
seeing
too.
it,
Yeah.
You got the little girls in the cheerleader outfits and the little boys in the jerseys, and they're seeing them doing Enter Sandman for the first time. It's awesome.
Nothing like it.
Nothing like it, man.
So, in your opinion, what do you think the best Virginia Tech football tradition is?
My favorite tradition, honestly, I got to say, is Enter Sandman. Best tradition in college football.
I agree.
That song can get anybody going.
Absolutely.
But there's something about being there. I'll never forget the Ohio State game when the Buckeyes came the year after they won the national championship, and the year after we upset them.
Yeah.
Came to Lane Stadium, and I remember a couple things about that game. One, the lady that was right beside us in our seats told us that she bought season tickets just for that one game.
Wow.
And gave us the rest of her tickets, which was crazy. But anyways, I remember that stadium, I stood still for just a few seconds, and you could feel the stadium shaking. Yeah. And it was just absolutely insane, because we thought we were going to come, and Ohio State was going to come down the lane, and they was going to leave with an L. Yeah. Obviously, that didn't happen. But you look at that roster.
Exactly.
They had Zeke.
Braxton Miller.
Oh.
Let's see. Zeke.
Curtis Samuel, Michael Thomas, Joey Bosa. They're
unreal.
Joe Burrow was on the team. You got Joe Burrow sitting on fourth-string quarterback behind Card.
That quarterback room was something legit.
Absolutely.
And Braxton Miller made his lifetime highlight on Morsham Field.
Oh, yeah.
With that spin move,
Poor Matua Pawaka. I still see that on highlight reels today.
I do.
It had a great wide receiver. They had Terry McLaurin in that wide receiver room, too. They were absolutely stacked from the first man up to 5 deep. That team was great. But, man, again, like I said, I think Enter Sandman, I think it's got to be the greatest. Because that's the best thing about Virginia Tech football right now. Unfortunately, we was hoping that would change this year, but Enter Sandman is still what, that's what.
It's what brings everybody to Lane Stadium.
Is that what you thinking?
I'm thinking I have to go with Enter Sandman as well. I also like when the players come out, after Enter Sandman, and they do the cadet leap.
Yes.
When they give, our troops, their honor and praise, and
Yes.
I really like that part. We gotta go with the Hokie legs.
Oh,
we love our food, but
hey, listen, if y'all are hearing this, bring Buffalo Wild Wings back in the stadium.
We need it.
I love it.
We need it.
And guess what? Ever since we've taken it out, Tech football hasn't been doing so hot.
That's
so
right.
maybe B-Dubs.
That's right.
Maybe B-Dubs, you ought to give them another shot.
That's right.
That's what I think.
And, man, another food item I love in the stadium is Benny's Pizza.
Oh, yeah.
You get those big slices. It fills you up. It's just what you need at a football game. I think pizza is perfect.
Shout out to the agriculture. I love those milkshakes that they make. I don't know what they make, how they make them, but I make sure I get one lane leg a year. That way I don't have a heart attack. I always make sure every game to go get me a milkshake, unless it's freezing. Now, when we were about to go to that UVA game, I think I ought to stay away from the milkshakes and been looking at
how to get some hot chocolate.
Yeah,
yep.
But it's so good. And the kettle corn. I don't know. Virginia Tech's just got everything about it. It's great, man. We just got to get the product on the field just a little bit better. And we were so close this year too.
And I think that really starts with recruiting and coaching as well. But right now we're predicted to be about around the 12th ranked in the nation for our recruiting class.
Yes.
And I definitely think that plays a big role. But what are you looking forward to most about this upcoming season?
Honestly, the thing that I'm looking forward to about this upcoming season is I think that we're going to see some desperation. I think we have yet to announce a defense coordinator hire. I think Pry and honestly Whit Babcock are feeling the fire right now. I think that Pry, after last year, I think everybody was pleased. I was pleased with the job he had done. I thought that this guy, in the era of NIL, brought everybody back, every major starter back.
And that's hard to do these days.
That's hard to do. And, we finished the season off with only losses, losing those last couple of weeks to a great Florida State team, a great Louisville team, and a very close battle with a tough NC State team led by Peyton Wilson.
Yeah.
3 top 25 teams. And then you go out, you beat Tulane, and I'm thinking we get everybody back, one more year coaching, and then we lay an egg. So I think that Pry he's feeling the heat. So I'm excited to see who we bring in and what kind of fire this team has. So I think that right now, I'm just, I don't know, I feel like a lot of Hokie Nation feels like there's not really much direction. We don't really know. We have a great class coming in, like you said. We're top 13, top 12, transfer portal recruiting right now. But is that going to translate on the field? That's what I think everybody, because you brought back several NFL caliber guys last year. And, I'm not trying to sound like a Debbie Downer, but you have the kind of talent that you do last year. And we went to the Mayo Bowl, and I tell you, on the offensive line, we looked a lot smaller than what they had. Yeah. But ultimately, I felt like we played with them decently to have – we had depth. There was no reason that the talent that we had that we shouldn't have at least won 9-10 games this year. So I think that I'm excited to see what transpires, whether it be a great season or a bad season. I'm just ready for this to – I'm just ready to understand what kind of direction we're going to have.
Right.
What kind of direction are we going to have moving forward? Is it whether it's going to be with Pry or without Pry? Be with Whit Babcock or without. I feel like right now everything is so great. Nobody knows what's going to happen after next year, and it's tough.
It is.
It's really tough. So,
and I definitely think Coach Pry does more with less.
Yeah.
The Mayo Bowl really speaks into that. And I think just we need a D coordinator. That's our top priority right now.
Absolutely.
We have to find a defensive coordinator. Yeah. But, other than that, looking back on this previous season, when you open up a game against Vandy, all the hype surrounding, Kyron Drones is going to be in the Heisman running and everything like that. And that's just a tough game to really start the season off. And what was one game, in your opinion, that you think really made made or break our season.
I think that a lot of people are going to be kind of shocked by this, but I think the Syracuse game really broke us because we go into the Syracuse week and we have one ACC loss. We're on a win streak. We have a great win against Stanford. We killed Boston College. Bashaw Tootin set the single game rushing record. That was awesome. Then we go and we beat a tough Georgia Tech team. Now I understand that they were without Haynes King, but their backup had great experience against us and actually beat Virginia Tech the year before. He beat Virginia Tech in Brent Pry's first season. So I guess that was 2 years before. But they had a very good team. And so we had won 3 straight games. I think that we were robbed in the Miami game. So we're looking at, 3-1 ACC record.
Yep.
Should have been 4-0. And we're looking, going into Syracuse. We got a chance to maybe still make the ACC championship. We got a chance to salvage this season and maybe finish strong with a 8-4, 9-3 record. We go to Syracuse. We have a giant lead, and it's the same story in every loss. In the fourth quarter, when we need our defense to step up the most, we give up big chunk plays that take no time off the clock. They score quick, and our defense just is nowhere to be found. And I think that game, when we lost that game right there, I think that, honestly, a lot of these guys probably checked out. I hate to say it, but you look at the Duke game, and you look at the Clemson game. I mean, I think that there was some level of defeat of what are we playing for now? We were supposed to be ACC contenders. And now it's, our season's gone. We're
definitely.
I think that was a game that really, really broke the Virginia Tech Hokies because we go on and after that game, the only other game we won besides that was the UVA game.
Yeah, and that's a tough look.
It is.
One game I think that really broke us this year was the Rutgers game.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're at Lane Stadium. And we just didn't look like it wasn't our true selves. I mean, they led us in all categories: total yards, passing yards, rushing yards, and yards per play.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't win when you lose in the major categories, and I think that really set us up for failure.
Rutgers was I was at that game, and they were just a more physical team.
Definitely.
You look at that and another game, and I was at the Marshall game too. And the Marshall game, we won that game, but it was not a pretty win.
No.
We go out there to the Rutgers game, and our offense lays an egg. And I love Kyron Drones, and I'm not against the guy, but I don't know what it was, but we're going to hopefully get into that. But it felt like there was absolutely no rhythm to offense. In the passing game, there was none. And you look at it and you think, you bring back your starting quarterback, you bring back all the bat boys, Ollie Jennings, Gosnell, Lane, and Felton, and you bring back Gosnell as a tight end. I mean, you think that this offense was going to be absolutely good. And the passing game was terrible. It was terrible. I mean, it was a little bit of the offensive line block. I mean, as you see, Parker Clements hurt Kyron Rhodes that game.
Yeah.
But even before that, it just seemed like Kyron felt rushed. He was making bad decisions with the ball. It seems like when he did get the ball to the wide receiver, I know that game in particular, I don't know how many drops that we had. And the same thing with the Duke game. We had a lot of drops in a lot of games. And it felt like Kyron Drones was a backup. I hate, and I wasn't not saying that he played poorly, but it just felt like this guy. It felt like he had never played with any of these wide receivers in his life.
The chemistry seemed off.
Yes,
and I think that's the biggest thing. As a quarterback, you have to have rhythm with your guys. You got to trust the guys up front. Obviously, you mentioned Parker Clements.
Yes.
I think Not my favorite Hokie of all time. We were mentioning our favorite Hokie legends.
Yeah.
Parker, nothing against you, man, but
seemed like looked like a good fisherman, but man, that's I honestly I blame Crook for that more than anything. You got a guy like Garrett who performed the way he did early in the season, and he is your backup right tackle, and you don't play him. That's coaching right there.
And I think Johnny Garrett's got a lot of potential.
Oh, I'm so excited for
he's got the build, he's got good feet, he's strong.
Played the whole Old Dominion game.
He did, and he really didn't show any signs of doubt.
No,
I mean he can move, he can play left tackle, right tackle. I think a guy like Johnny Garrett can really help this offensive line.
When we recruited Garrett was a tight end. He's a very athletic guy, and
that's what you need at tackle.
Let me tell you. You look at the Miami game when we ran the sneak, and why don't you have a guy like Garrett in there?
I agree.
If you're going to go for the field goal thing, you better do it right.
Right.
And a lot of great tackles were former tight ends. One of my favorite tackles of all time, Andrew Villanueva for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a tight end in the Navy. Went and served his country for 4 years. God bless that man. Thank you to all the troops out there.
Yep.
And he came back. It was a tight end his first year for the Eagles.
Yep.
Pittsburgh signs him up. He goes and is a tackle, all-pro, Pro Bowl tackle several years for the Steelers. Does absolutely great things.
And I think the new hire in Mike Moore will really help our offensive line.
Love him, man.
He brought, let's say, 3 guys across the border with him. And I think, West Virginia always has a physical O-line. Yeah. I think Matt Moore will do great things for this O-line room. I think this season that's where we struggled probably the most this year.
Yeah.
But with that hire, that'll build a lot of chemistry with the guys and allow us to, be physical up front, run the football, and protect the quarterback as well.
Yeah, this is a really big hire for Brent Pry. I felt like this is the first O-line hire he's got right. I think Joe Rudolph is a heck of a coach, but I felt like schematically with what Tech was trying to do. Joe Rudolph was a line coach at Wisconsin. Yep. We're going to run the hill, downhill, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to have, a pocket passer. Same thing at Notre Dame. How many dual threat studs are coming out of Notre Dame? You're not. You got guys like Riley Leonard. You got guys like Sam Hartman who are going to stay in the pocket and run down your throat. That's just not what Rudolph had taught. He hadn't taught, these mobile guys. And I understand Grant Wells was not a mobile guy. But we was never hoping Grant Wells was going to be the long-term guy. We wasn't trying to get, a bunch of pocket passers. We want guys like Kyron, Pop. We want guys who can run. We've always had success with mobile quarterbacks. And then you bring in a guy like, Ronker. Man, I always thought that was the worst. The guy came from San Diego State University. Not even San Diego State. It was some no-name team. Guy had hardly no credentials. He comes in and no portal. I think that was the main thing with these past 2 guys is Joe Rudolph didn't use the portal at all, and Ron Crook was just bad at the portal. We brought in 2 portal guys, Montavious Cunningham, and we brought in a guy from an FCS team 1 year. Well, those are the 2 offensive lineman portals, and neither one of them has gotten a single start or played or made any difference. Right. So I think that seeing Matt Moore has brought a guy who's a Big Ten selection, all Big Ten conference selection, who definitely is going to get starting time. And then you got a guy who is probably going to start at center. Yep. And, we have a guy who is going to, obviously, he's going to compete for the tackle position. You got 3 guys that might be starters this year, at least 2, in my opinion. And
that's what you need. You need a guy with a coach with chemistry with the players.
Yep.
A guy that players that are coachable, and that it starts up front. Football, it starts up front. If you can't run the football, if you can't hold your own on defensive, offensive line, you're gonna lose.
Absolutely.
And I think that is the most important position on the field. We were both linemen, and we were very prideful in that. And I definitely think it starts up front.
Yeah. Again, and another big thing is you need bodies too. When you're an offensive line group, I mean, this year in the Mayo Bowl, you could tell we started a redshirt freshman
At center.
at center.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for a power 4 team. I mean, I'm sorry, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you only got 2 guys who can play center
Yeah.
on your entire roster just speaks how badly that Tech has been in this transfer portal and recruiting.
Right.
We've just fallen behind. We just need bodies, and I feel like Matt Moore's a guy who can not only who understands that he needs to bring bodies, but has the ability to do it and can also develop these guys. So I think that that's a home run hire for him. I feel like he fits, but I also felt like that with Joe Rudolph. So we're just going to have to see. Anticipation is high right now.
Definitely. I mean, we got to get a D-line. I mean, I'm a defensive coordinator. We got to get a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And I think that's our biggest focus right now. And we'll just have to see. But that's all we got for you guys. Just like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. We'll have all the major platforms covered eventually. But what do you got? Any final words?
Guys, go Hokies, and we long off season, but we're going to be getting you guys some answers. Yeah. And really excited about that.
Yeah.
So,
and if you're a current, former coach, player, alumni, if you just want to hop on a Zoom call and just talk with us, talk football, talk shop, we'd love to have you. Yep. So just like and subscribe, follow us on all major platforms, and God bless and go Hokies.
That's right, go Hokies.
Nice.